Just imagine a tree, and the wind is blowing, and all the leaves are moving, and there's an ignorant leaf that thinks, I am moving. It's my free will that I'm moving. There's an awakened leaf that tells him that it's actually one movement. It's not him consciously choosing to move, it's one movement. But then the ignorant leaf says, no, look, I'm proving my free will now. And then he's proving his free will by falling down. But from an outside perspective, it's totally obvious that the leaf fell down because of the wind. And that's what it feels like when it's obvious that there's not a thing that is independently moving or choosing in this world. It's all movement is one big movement. And it's not that I am freely choosing to record a video, but there's no chance for me to not record a video right now. So if it happens, it happens because but there's no reason actually. It's just because the gods are playing. We can describe it like that. So everything is just one movement, and it's easy to realize that when you are no longer searching for a true self, because a lot of people try to find something real that they can cling to, and then they hear about the I am, or they hear about consciousness, universal consciousness, or Brahman, or the deep I, or true self. Then the mind, or the thought, clings to this concept, and it tries to identify itself with that, and it thinks that, yes, I am the I amness. But the trick is in totally forgetting all beliefs and letting go of all concepts, because from the perspective of the individual self, it's totally necessary to let go of concepts like I am or consciousness, because it would cling to it. And when you realize that there's no consciousness watching through those eyes, there's nothing, there's like everything is transient. You consist out of thoughts, identifications, form, emotions, I think, and consciousness. And the Buddha said that even consciousness is transient. And with that, that's the kind of consciousness that is created through your senses, like hearing, seeing, all of that stuff. Like if you realize that you cannot even cling to this kind of consciousness, then you let go of the idea that there is something about you individually that is permanent. But your whole structure is dependent on the whole universe. So you're not separate from everything, and you're not one with everything, but everything is one with you. And so the whole being right now is one movement, even your thinking. And when that is realized, people call that Brahman, because Brahman is I think it's the God with infinite faces. So it's the beingness that is expressing itself through everything that is happening right now. When it's not different from what is happening right now, it is the thing that is happening right now. But it's not multiple things, it's one movement that looks like multiple things. So even you watching the video right now is Brahman watching Brahman, we can say. So it's one movement. There's no individual leaf that is moving in the wind. It's one movement. And sometimes it's kind of unexplainable. There's also the concept of the Atman. the individual true self, like when you are going deep and you watch all the movement and you feel like you are the witness of everything happening. But then that becomes also a transient experience, because you cannot always be in that witness state of being unless you find yourself clinging to it, and that's not the goal. So always staying as the Atman, witnessing all the happenings, is an effort. But to actually come back and realize that nothing is separate from the Atman, which is the realization of Brahman. And I already sound too religious right now, but it's just a good way to describe it. So you don't have to cling to a real self. Everything here is transient. And then you realize that everything that is happening right now is what you are looking for. But as you notice, when you are really also forgetting the concept of now and future and past, and you're just looking at God, then there's no thought, there's no time, there's no me. Like even the word I is made up. Ask yourself, who am I without beliefs, without thoughts? What is the world without words? And if you really listen to those questions, your mind goes blank, and there's just, like even the word I, me, is a concept. Everything looks the same, but you do not attach meanings onto seemingly separate things. Because as soon as you attach meanings onto separate things, they actually feel like they are separate things when they are actually not. So there's no practice, because a practice would imply that you can attain something that isn't already there. It's already there. It's as soon as you think that I have to dig deeper into myself to attain a true self that is permanent, and from which I can observe the impermanent, then there's a duality. And obviously, it starts to feel like effort, and it starts to feel like suffering, because you're clinging to something that is actually transient. The Buddha said that suffering occurs when one is clinging to something and demanding permanence. That's when suffering happens. So even if you're clinging to the concept of consciousness, that can cause your suffering. So just go through the world knowing that everything is impermanent, but the impermanence is permanent. That's what is meant when people say it's infinite and timeless. So it's like an ocean with colors and dimensions and light and shadow, but that duality, that transience, is permanent and has no duality. So nirvana is samsara. What does nirvana look like? It looks like samsara. There are no enlightened beings. It's just one being, and the being was never asleep. So we cannot say that there are real awakened beings, although sometimes it's useful to say that there are enlightened beings when we are trying to trying to describe a metaphor, just like with the ignorant and enlightened leaf. But actually, my cat is coughing. There's nothing wrong in being seemingly asleep, because that's exactly how Brahman wants it, even though there's no reason. So whatever is happening right now is perfect. And you can just think she's sick or something. Oh my. So you can basically observe everything right now, including your actions and thoughts, and see how everything is just one movement. And then you can kind of let go into that and stop trying to find something, but just let go into the truth that you're not living your life, but life is living you. So you were always in the middle of God, or Brahman, or yourself. Because think about it. Your eyes create the illusion of consciousness, and consciousness, the personal awareness, the conscious awareness, is basically the room in between those eyes and whatever they are looking at. That's what creates the appearance of consciousness. But your eyes are completely dependent on your brain, and your brain is completely dependent on your nervous system. And your nervous system is completely dependent on your body, and your body is completely dependent on the floor that it's standing on. And the floor that it's standing on is completely dependent on the building structure. But the building is completely dependent on the foundation. And the foundation is completely dependent on the earth. And the earth is completely dependent on space. So everything that is here right now consists out of space, because that's what it depends on. It came from space. So if everything that is surrounding you right now, including yourself, came from space, that means that you are surrounded with yourself. And isn't that cool, actually? So you're not watching a video of someone else trying to explain something to you about whatever you want to call it. I don't even know myself. But you're not watching a video of someone else, you're watching yourself. And that means that everything that happened in your life was totally perfect. Even the imperfection was totally perfect. Because only the interpretation of what is good and bad creates the illusion of mistakes. When you realize that words are just sounds, then you realize that, wait a minute, thoughts are also just sounds, and there's no interpretation anymore there, and life becomes totally impersonal, which feels strange to the separate self, because personality is important, right? It thinks it's important, but it's actually not. When you let go of personality, that's when you actually can recognize yourself, because personality means persona means mask. So you want to look at who's behind the mask, and when it gets impersonal, that means that the mask is falling off. So you can recognize yourself, but you cannot recognize yourself behind this mask. It's here, it's everywhere. That's you without mask. Yeah. So where's the duality? You can still behave like a normal person. Like, there's no need to adapt a non-dual persona, self-image that you have to project outwards to seem like you're really enlightened. It's not necessary at all. When you meet me, I'm behaving like like a somewhat normal person. I was never really normal, but what is normal? See, a normal person wouldn't ask that, but there's nothing that is actually normal. But I would behave completely normal, like I am me, you're you, and the cat is the cat. But it's seen that everything is one and none. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, if you like this video, like it, subscribe, leave a comment, and have a great day.